How are we doing? It is episode 58 of Franco's World. It's a good one today. I have another funny guest. This is our first time ever talking to each other, and it's going to be broadcasted publicly for all to hear. The very funny comedian, Claire Alexander. Claire, how are we doing?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's such a prestigious show. I mean, everyone in Hollywood is trying to get on it. You're very lucky to be on this episode today.
I feel very lucky.
Right, right. Claire is from Connecticut. I thought you were from Fairfield because I keep seeing you perform at this thing, the Fairfield Comedy Club. I keep seeing you perform there.
I've performed there a couple times, and each time is really great. The guy who runs it there, Joe Garrick's super nice guy. Whenever I'm just in town, usually he'll let me just like do a 5-minute spot, and it's always a great time. They have really great headliners, and it's really fun. It's cool because it's like in this hotel, but it's always a great spot.
I thought you were from Fairfield, and I was going to talk to you about this pre-show, and I was like, oh, I'm going to save it for the show, and I totally blew it. I didn't ask where you were actually from. I thought you were from Fairfield, and I was going to say, how does it feel to know you will never be the most famous person from Fairfield, Connecticut?
Oh no! Oh, is there someone else who's famous from Fairfield, Connecticut?
John Mayer.
What? He's from Fairfield, Connecticut? That's crazy.
I'm almost positive he's from Fairfield, Connecticut.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts.
You want me to Google that real quick? I'll Google that real quick.
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
that was going to be the joke. And I completely blew it.
No,
I completely
it's
blew
okay.
it. Oh, he's from Bridgeport. Oh, no. Wait, no. Wait, is that in Fairfield?
It's in Fairfield County?
We're saying he's from Fairfield today. He's from Fairfield today for the joke.
Yeah,
Great joke,
today.
Franklin.
Okay, well, I mean, Bridgeport is totally different from well, then there's like New Fairfield, which is like super bougie, but or no.
I swear I've heard of Fairfield before.
Bougie.
I swear I've heard it.
Today
he's from Fairfield.
That's so funny. He's so down to earth. I never would have expected a Connecticut guy.
So you have a theater background. I did some Instagram stalking, and it looked like you were a theater kid. Do you think that being a theater kid and getting a comfortable stage presence has led to your interest in comedy and your drive to do comedy?
Oh, 100%. It's the reason I began doing comedy. I was doing theater, and I ended up taking I had to take a comedy class for my theater unit.
No.
Well, no, it was great. I was taking I went to this theater high school because I was sick of getting cast as like a background character in all the musicals. So I was like, I'm just going to go to theater high school and study theater there. And
you went to like a fame high school?
No, it was kind of, but for half of the day. So I had my regular school during the day, and then in the middle of the day I went on a bus with 4 other like super artsy kids who like smoked cigarettes outside the school waiting for the bus. And I smoked a cigarette with them one time, and I was like, I am so badass and probably gonna die earlier.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Chalamet lookalike.
Yeah, that was what everybody looked like before he became famous at this school. But yeah, then we would go to this school, which was in Bridgeport. So hi, John Mayer. And then we ended up taking this. I took this comedy class, and it was right before I went to college, and I was like auditioning, and I had a teacher. You know, I ran my regular theater piece by a teacher, and he was like, "You're not gonna make it as an actress. Like, you have to be really, really good, Claire. Like, you really have to work a lot harder." Because every girl looks like you if you're just going to do some like drama piece. And I was like, okay, like immediately, that's so mean, but it like didn't stop me. I was like, okay, yeah, I will work harder, whatever. And then I was taking this comedy class. Yeah, I didn't like looking back. I'm like, that was a really douchey thing. Like that's so much a mean thing to say. But
especially for a kid.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I don't agree with you. I think I'm going to make it. I'm going to work really hard. And he was like, okay. And then he came in, so I was doing this comedy unit, and then we had stand-up comedy in it. Like, we did, like, clowning, like all the other embarrassing things in comedy. And then we had a stand-up unit, and I thought I would do fine. Like, I was like, I'm funny. and I totally killed so much that my teacher
Oh,
like brought in all the other teachers from the department in to see me do it again. And then that guy called me back to his office. He was like, "I was so wrong. This is your ticket. Like, this is how you're going to make it." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm totally just going to do stand up comedy because of theater." And then again, like I was in college and I did a lot of theater there too, but I kind of stopped getting cast in the shows because the theater director there also not nice. So she didn't like that I joined a sorority, and then I
oh,
just
you're
kind
in
of
college, the letter B. What were you in?
I was in Delta Phi Epsilon. Were you in a
All right,
frat?
that's nope, I was not.
No. Uh, you were a GDI.
I was a G'd. Yeah, I was a G'd. I hung out with the Greek life though. I just didn't want to pay the money. I hung out like in the houses.
Yeah, yeah. Like even at my school, it was super chill. Like everybody was. It was just such a small group of people, and basically, you just joined the sororities if you just wanted to make sure you had plans every weekend. And so
Right.
I joined it, and the theater teacher didn't like that, but so I wasn't really cast in anything anymore. And I was on my improv troupe, and I wasn't doing well, so I went home for winter break and I took a stand up comedy class,
Wow.
which
You're
I
not playing it
usually,
by the book at all. You're just doing all the different things, and you're still doing good.
yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I was like, I know, like, it's like everyone's like, no, I never take a class. But I think taking a class was a good decision because I met a lot of people who helped me, like, meet other people and figure out kind of how everything worked. And,
Uh-huh. Well,
and
I believe
I
that like
started doing that.
funny is something. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no. That's it. Really. I mean, I started doing stand up in my English classes for projects because I was like drunk all the time. So I like didn't want to actually write like a story or anything. So I would just like write stand up and then perform it I performed it in like a creative writing class. I performed it for theater. And I performed it for something else, I think, and that's what I did for my projects. I would just do my stand up. I would
Mhm.
basically treat my classes like because I had a bunch of like PR writing classes at the end of the semester right before I graduated, and I just like did my stand up, and I did really well, and I got all A's because people were like, "Oh my god, I've never seen stand up here before," and I was like, "Yeah, I definitely put." I definitely just haven't been drinking this whole time.
Right.
Then I graduated and I just really got into stand up.
Nice. I mean, I mean, everybody has their own entry point, and I think that funny has an essence. So it's like if you have an essence of funny, you need to somehow, water that plant and everything. And if that comes from taking a comedy class, then that's fine. I know there's negative connotations behind that, but there's different strokes for different folks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would you, since you do, I mean, I'm assuming you still love the theater to an extent. Would you think that the comedians you admire, do they have a sort of a performative, over the topness to them?
Some do. I mean, I love writing. Like you gotta like Judah. I mean, like you know, in 30 Rock and everything. Like Judah Friedlander and his stand up is like he's one of my favorite comedians. But I wouldn't say is like an over the top
Mhm.
performer. Like
Yeah.
he's
He's
like
very, lethargic almost.
yeah, he's very so monotone, and it's all just like it's just goofy and silly, and you don't even have to like be like wagging your arms all over the place or anything.
Mhm.
Um, I would say though that is the comedy I feel like I do though. I'm extremely like big and active, and
I
I'm
think
working
you
on
do.
doing more act
I watched some of
outs.
your sets, and I'm not trying to like, this is no critique, but it's like I noticed that like you start out, like you want to draw people in, you start out slower, and then whenever you like want to make your point, that's whenever your tone goes up, and you're just like trying to really drive the point home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I'm really still figuring myself out and learning about myself. I was listening to Nikki Glazer was talking to Mike Birbiglia on that thing he was doing on his Instagram Live every day for a while, and where
Hmm.
he just like interviewed comedians, and she said that like when she was younger, she would just kind of accidentally mimic other comics. And I think
Right.
sometimes it's a person that I have loved and listened to for many years is Beth Stelling. And I think that sometimes part of me kind of like uh, is comfortable with being more quiet because that's her comedy is so like, yeah, my mom bought a Playboy for the first time. Like and
Right.
that's something that I find funny, and I don't I'm not I'm not canceling myself and saying like oh yeah I do bet stuff. No, that's not it. But like I think that that's something I'm comfortable with because I'm comfortable with hearing it. And then once I kind of get on a roll, I feel like I really put myself more into it, into the performance, I would say.
Yeah, and you talk about how the writing is the most important part, and I love writing, and everybody writes differently. Clyde and I were talking last week how he just kind of like walks around and thinks of stuff where I have to put on music, and I sit there with my pen and paper and write it out longhanded. How do you work? How do you write?
I think the best way I write is when I'm talking to people. I think if I'm ever like have writer's block, which is all the time, I'll just call someone. And because I think what some of the, what I can tell you about myself is that my comedy doesn't, I don't think it comes from me thinking, oh, ha ha ha, this thing I said is funny. It's like I just talk the way I talk. And if someone laughs, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that could be comical. And then I'll like think back and I'll write it down usually. So I think like
Hmm.
talking to people a lot, talking to my parents because they're wackos sometimes, talking to
Yeah.
my friends, my roommate. One of my favorite jokes I ever came up with was like the first actual joke I ever wrote. Like I was writing like bits and stuff. The first like real good joke I was proud of writing. I was on the phone with my cousin, and she had just started doing online dating, and I was like, online dating is Tinder and that stuff is so stupid. It's like walking into a 2-story Forever 21. You only want one T-shirt, but you go in, there's like a zillion T-shirts to choose from, and that was just an analogy. I was just like, I also hate Forever 21. And she just like started laughing, and I was like, I didn't realize that was comical, and I think
Yeah,
also that
you don't know what you don't know exactly.
yeah, and I think that teaches you as a comedian what is funny. Like when I made that joke with my cousin, that was like 3 years ago. I didn't realize that was funny, and now my brain kind of works in the way because I acknowledge everything that people laugh at when I'm talking to them, even when
Right.
I'm without
Likewise.
people. Sometimes, yeah. Even like when you're writing and stuff, you're like, oh, that could be funny. I can imagine someone laughing at that because that's similar to like you kind of start to pay attention to what people laugh at, and then when you write on your own, that comes back, and you start really writing stuff you think other people would laugh at. So
Right. I remember that one of the first ones that I had work. It was almost like a story almost because it came. My friends and I were all hanging around, round table in college, just sitting and talking. And some new Call of
mhm.
Duty game came out or something like that. And I told them like I can't play those games because I get seasick. And then I was joking about how like, and I also get too emotionally attached with the characters, and I get sad when they die. And then like I told this whole story about like me and this guy went through boot camp. He died, and he was going to open up a pizza shop in Brooklyn, and it was a whole thing. And that was the first one I remember. And like working really, really well, really not just like hey, gotta laugh, but like people are pounding their fist on the table. And I think after that moment, when I got the reaction out of my friends, and I was like, huh, that might be something. I definitely took more notes from funny anecdotes and conversation I had with people.
Yeah. I think well, I think that there's a lot of aspects to it because like things there's a lot of aspects of things that make you laugh, which is like things that make you happy and being with your friends and experiencing things you love. And that is part of what makes a good joke too, is like the happiness behind it. Now, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
Anthony Jeselnik, absolutely fucking hilarious.
Right.
But like, I think when
Yeah,
you have,
comedy can come from anywhere. It can come from being
yeah,
upset. It can come from being mad.
but I think that when you have like that joyful moment with your friends, that is kind of that flows into the joke as well, and that is what makes it so successful because the audience is there to be happy. they're there because they want to have a good time. And if
Right.
you have that, if you bring that, this is part of also performing it, not just writing it, but if you have that joy in the joke behind it, behind the words that you originally wrote, that is also what makes them laugh. It's just that's because it's like they just want to be there to have a good time, and you love performing because it's what you like, and together it makes it a really successful joke because it originated from from a positive event, I think.
Right. And I think, like, going back to the whole writing and crafting the joke itself, I love it. There's literally no better feeling other than when it actually works. But whenever you're in the midst of writing a joke and say you're in the middle and you're just, you're basically riffing, you're freestyling, and you know
Mhm.
where the ending wants to be, like, you know where it has to go, but you got to get it there. And then you have to do that, like, connect the dots type of thing. Then you finally get through the maze and you're like, oh, I finally got there and it looks good. Like, it completes a puzzle.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting giddy just thinking about it.
Right, it's a
That's
good feeling. It's a
definitely the
good feeling.
best. Over the quarantine, I wrote two really good jokes I was proud of, and I had that feeling, and it was so awesome to. And it was funny because I was at my parents' house, and I was like, I never knew I'd be here doing this again, but this is great. Like, just
Almost like having to come back to West Virginia, having to essentially go back in time, because you're
mhm,
staying with your parents. You're still
mhm,
in your room you grew up in, and you see people you grew up with, and it's like you almost have to go back to that mindset and find and like figure out what mattered then, and then you can kind of like you have to go backwards to get forwards almost if
mhm,
Willy Wonka makes any sense. And just I don't know. It kind of coming back to West Virginia was like a mental rehab for me. I feel like I found like funny stuff again.
yeah, yeah. I think location has a
You,
lot to do with inspiration.
right, and I'm obviously I miss being in a city-ish environment, and
Mhm.
I want to be in the biggest city environment, but right now obviously you can't do that. You tell a lot of jokes about your parents. You just said they're wackos. Did they give you any sort of inspiration at all? Did they maybe introduce you too early? Did they stick you in front of a television? What did they do to make you want to be the way that you are?
Oh well, I have such a positive story with my parents. They've always been like super supportive of everything I do. So yes, it's true, kids. If your parents are supportive, you can make it. Not that I've made it, but I mean, um, I have really great parents. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, like before I didn't even know I liked comedy until I just thought everybody did. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I thought everyone's parents listened to the Beatles all the time.
Right.
I like my parents. My favorite movie has been Back to the Future since I was 8 years old when my parents first showed me it. And as a
So,
kid,
so the Marty McFly guitar moment was your Back to the Future, hey, I want to perform moment?
oh my god, well that was the Marty McFly guitar moment was like I will never be happy until I marry a guy who plays guitar moment. Probably, he's such a
John Mayer, are you listening?
yeah,
Connecticut?
John Mayer. If you ever want to come back to Connecticut, I'm not there, but
No,
visit me in New
well,
York.
it's funny because like he said Back to the Future was his inspiration for picking up the guitar. That's really weird. I have two Connecticut people saying Back to the Future.
Oh my gosh, John Mayer! I didn't know we had so much in common.
Right?
I'm totally hitting him up. Oh my gosh, that's so funny because my parents do love John Mayer. I gotta tell them that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, no, I love Back to the Future. But I remember my parents when I was a kid. They showed me to Coming to America, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, and like family always watched SNL. They were like super serious about PG-13 movies, so and like TV. So I wasn't allowed to watch SNL until I was older. But because like
That's
movies
pretty
like Coming
wild.
to America, yeah, I mean, yeah, I was there. My parents are like totally strict, and I mean, uh, I don't think that it helped me with my alcoholism, but I say jokingly. But
Right.
I turned out fine enough. But
Yeah, my parents. Hey, in my household, it was church every night if possible, but also, hey, Franklin, you're 8 years old. Here, come watch Blues Brothers with me. It was really weird.
yeah, well, I mean, like things like Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and Coming to America, like those movies weren't even. I mean, they have so many boobs in Coming to America.
A lot of boobs
Uh,
in Coming to America. The
yeah,
opening scene where he's in the bathtub.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it's like so many boobs, and it's rated PG. I think because they didn't have PG-13 yet. So my parents were
Ah,
like, "Well, I mean, if the law says it's PG, then we'll watch it because we just want our kids to see it." Oh, Dave, that was a movie my parents showed me as a kid that we just watched over and over. It's a movie about a guy
I
becoming
remember we would
president.
go to Blockbuster. Obviously, I watch you and I. We'll talk about this, I know, but we would go to Blockbuster, and then we would rent like the best of whatever cast member my
Mhm.
dad wanted to watch that week. My dad was a big SNL fan, so I know that's where it stems from for me. I haven't watched it in I guess recent years, probably the past 2 years. But I remember like when I was in middle school, like that was must see TV for me. Me and my friends would watch it and then like recite it at the lunch table, on Monday.
Well, it's the best show, I think, next to 30 Rock. But it's like the best. It's got everything, you know? It's not even it's almost like not even a TV show. It's like um I can't picture a world without it because I think it's so great to have all these sketches and this outlet for people and writers, and I think it's really great. It's like the center of comedy, really.
hmm They have a very tough job. I think it's very easy to hate on them, and I know I've said things that probably aren't the most kind about the show. But the thing is, it's like what they're having to compete with in terms of things that are able to pass on network television versus things people watch every day on the internet. It's unattainable. You can't copy that.
Yeah, yeah, it's like it's awesome, and I think it's totally an inspiration for everybody. I think it's an inspiration for so many kids to like join their improv troupe, you know, or start writing their own sketches, or just to see that like it's a sketch is still like a thing, you know. It's not like you don't have to write a full pilot every time you have an idea. Like you can just like write a little thing, and that's still going to be successful, and it's still going to be funny, and it's still going to make people laugh all over. And I think that's great, and it's a lot of fun. It's like every every comic stream.
Right, right, right. I don't know if I would want to necessarily perform on there, but if they're like, "Hey, right," I'd be down for that. But to each their own. You and I both at least used to love. There's not so much of it anymore, but televised comedy, that's what we were raised on. That was our thing. You keep referencing 30 Rock. That is definitely one of my all-time shows because it's SNL 2.0. It's
Yeah,
a show within a show.
yeah. As said by Tracy in one episode, he's like, "We're on a show within a show. My real name's Tracy Morgan."
Was that at the end when they're doing like the fake good nights?
Oh no! That was that's I watched the show so many times. That's one time when they're like, he's off his meds.
Oh, okay, okay. I was looking back on it, and I watched like the pilot recently, and I was just like, man, I don't know if they'd be able to get some of this stuff on air this day. Like, I don't
There's
know,
no
just like
way.
a lot of the outrage, but like, I don't know, man, it's just jokes. I
It's
know
just
everyone can have their
yeah.
own opinion, but I understand.
There's some things that I'm definitely like, don't don't say that. But a lot of it is just like really funny, and it's just, I mean, it's so cool all the crazy stuff that they because what I like that they do is like there's really no straight man, and they take every situation and they just go at it with full force and make the
hmm
worst craziest things possible happen. And
If you did have to peg someone as a straight man, do you think it would just be Jack Donaghy?
I don't even know because like his character is basically making fun of like some Republican douchebag executive, but he's
Ah, that's a
lovable
good
at the
point.
same time.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. I just took the character for what it was. I didn't. That's a good point.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know who the straight man would be at all.
I mean, yeah, because I mean they're all crazy. I mean, like everyone provides comedic relief in their own form.
Yeah,
There's a
it
bunch of different
completely.
types of comedy.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I feel like comedy is progressing in that way too. I feel like we're kind of leaving the straight man behind because it's like that's just so. I don't want to say hack, but like it's it's like unnecessary. I think because people need comedy faster, and everybody wants like joke, 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 joke. And I think that
Uh-huh.
that's kind of where 30 Rock is too. Is like every line back and forth is a joke. It's not like well, that's weird. There's not enough time for like some straight man's reaction for us to laugh at,
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, you like what you like. Everybody,
Mhm.
comedy is probably the most subjective thing in history. I mean, the thing I'll get comments sometimes. I don't know if you're on TikTok or not, but I'll get comments from people, and a 13-year-old will say like, "Why do you have comedian in your bio?" Like, I thought comedians were supposed to make me laugh. And I don't comment back because they're kids, but like, it's just the most subjective thing in history. Like, you wouldn't walk up to a musician and be like, "Wow, all right, here's another callback. Wow, you're John Mayer. You suck." I like listening to Metallica.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's all different kinds, and it means something. Like there's things that aren't even written that I think are funny. Like I don't know. One time I saw a red Solo cup on a coaster on a table, and I think about that a lot because like you really you think you're red like put it you really need a coaster
Oh,
for
you
this
think that's
table.
gonna? Yeah, okay. You think that's gonna leave a stain on the wood?
Yeah, are you worried? Like, what's going on? I think, and I don't know, like, that's humorous, and that's not something you could write, and that's,
Yeah,
just
irony,
that
irony. I
picture.
love irony. Love
Yeah,
that's very ironic. I
yeah,
love irony.
very
I think
true.
that's what I try to do in a lot of my jokes is to point out the ironic situations that happen in life.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I haven't written anything ironic in a while, I feel like.
I mean, I'll have to scroll through the notes here. I don't want to like have dead air or anything. Let me see. Oh yeah. Oh, one thing I want to talk about, and then whenever I find something, I'm just gonna interrupt you.
Okay.
You did Zoom open mics, and I hear high praise about you on the Zoom open mics. I haven't done a Zoom open mic because my internet sucks and I don't understand the format. But again, you're taking a different road than a lot of people take. You've done a couple comedy classes. You do the Zoom open mics. Basically, everything that people think is, for lack of a better term, dumb or pointless, you do them, but it seems to work in your favor.
Yeah, I definitely, there's a lot of hate towards Zoom open mics. I was really confused by that because so the quarantine started. I left my apartment on March 12th. I moved in with my parents unintentionally. I was just going to go home because my brother was home from college for the weekend. So I didn't bring anything. I just brought like my Spanx. And yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going home. I'm probably going to go to the bar,
Yeah, gotta
but
look tight, gotta look tight.
yeah, and then didn't need any of that. I brought all the wrong clothes, but I did bring my laptop and stuff, and I saw that people were doing these online mics, and I was like, well, I don't want to get rusty, so I just kind of started doing them. And my friends and we actually
Hmm.
started one on
Wow.
Thursdays. Yeah, it's still running. And it's not the same. I'll tell you that because I just came back to the city and I just did like a couple shows actually, and I was saying, like, for the first time in my life, I've understood why guys are like, yeah, it feels really a lot better without the condom. I was like, oh my God, Zoom mics feel so lame in
Right.
comparison to regular mics. But
Well, I mean,
it's
it's just
still,
because you get human interaction. You get that instant here, like you see the reaction on the people.
yeah, yeah, like an instant. Like there's no lag.
Right.
It's not like it's going to hit in a second, and it's not like people are.
You have to tell the joke, and then the lag. It's like you're playing video games and you shoot it, and then 10 seconds later, the guy dies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's what it feels like on Zoom. And then going back to doing it in real life is like, and then you're like, oh, that was just bad. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's
yeah,
like, oh, I suck. Okay, that
yeah,
makes
it's like,
sense.
but I mean, Zoom, I'll tell you this, bombing on Zoom doesn't feel so bad.
Okay.
I don't think it's that hard to, I don't think it's, I think it's hard to bomb completely on Zoom because it's just like, you don't know. I mean, I've come to the point. There's a mic that I've done that I would do almost every single day. They had a 5 p.m. and an 8 p.m. mic. These guys, great people, and I would go almost every day, and we just became friends. So even if the joke sucked, they would just, we were tight enough to be like, "Well, that was terrible," and they're just like, "Ha ha ha, you're the best. We love you." It was a really good environment. But I'll tell you this: doing Zoom mics this whole time, like I've gotten to write new jokes, and you meet a lot of other people. I've gotten to meet pro comics who are bored
Yeah.
and also doing the Zoom mics. And I think it's I don't think it's worth like shaming.
No, I'm
It was
well, I
like
mean, it's just like you have to do comedy, it's a muscle, and you have to work it out. You have to do your reps. This show for me has been my rep. I mean, granted, it's long form, it's conversational, but like it definitely helps.
Oh yeah, talking to anyone, man. Like just like
Talking
getting.
to fellow funny people helps,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah. I think that was mostly what it was. It's not as much like about. I mean, it is about practicing your bits, but it's like. I mean, it was just like all we had for a little while, and I felt, I felt totally comfortable doing it, and now I just have to get comfortable with a microphone in my hand again. I did this show on Sunday, and I was like really nervous, and I was like, "What is this feeling? I hate it!" And my
Yeah.
hands are like sweaty, and I was like, "Ah!" Everyone could see me sweating, and it was
I have a
outside.
mic. I have a big mic for the podcast. It's a Blue Yeti mic, but
Oh
like it's
yeah.
definitely not meant for holding. But I hold it just because that's what feels like natural to me. It feels I'm like I have to.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm like almost used to not using a mic at all now because I've done so many uh, Zoom mics on my phone or on my laptop or whatever, and it was just with my hands and stuff. And
Yeah.
but that's
You'd
really
be
like
like Jimmy
sitting.
Carr. Jimmy Carr, he doesn't he wears that little earpiece.
Yeah, I'm just like Jimmy Carr, honestly. Just
Exactly. You and Jimmy Carr, two in the same, very similar jokes.
yeah, I'm just as successful.
So here's the two ironic things I wrote down. This is on July the 5th. I wrote down two things on July the 5th. I think I went to I had to go to church on July the 5th. So 2 days ago, I had to go to church, and we sang America the Beautiful in church. And I thought that was weird because I thought we were supposed to separate church and state. And then and then I went to a Mexican restaurant. This was a long time ago, but it finally popped in my head. I said the people that are saying build the wall and go back to your own country are also the same people that are saying dos margaritos, please.
Yep.
So that's what I try to do is just find ironic things that people say and do. I'm not like trying to be mean and call people out. It's just like that's what I find funny.
No, that is funny. That's definitely the church and state thing. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's that's. I mean, there's everything in daily life is. I think that um, everything can really be funny. You just have to like be observational and notice it, and that's definitely a skill you have for seeing that in church and in Mexican restaurants. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean like it's just wild, and like sometimes if I don't see anything for like a couple weeks, I'll get, and I'm sure you have the same feeling. It's like you'll get like sad almost and be like, wow, am I even like able to do? Will I ever think of one again? Like,
Oh, so true. No, at the beginning of this year, I kind of I didn't get into like an accident, but I had a really bad my back like kind of really just did not work very well. I have really bad
hmm
scoliosis, and I was working as a server, and I just one day it just like I couldn't really get out of bed anymore. Like my back hurt so bad, and I was just having like really bad muscle spasms, and I did not. I was like trying to go to Mike's, but I was like wearing sweatpants and like crying, and yeah, I was like, I would like get up and I would sit on the stool. And I was like Dave Attell, dressing just
yeah,
like him.
just set
Yeah,
up there, cigarette in hand.
and I'm like, what? You guys
Were
got a
you
problem with me?
were you are you do you primarily work in Manhattan? Are you a Brooklyn person? I'm trying to get it because I've only been to New York a couple times and I never even got to do mics, so I have no idea.
Oh, man, you don't know what pain is.
No,
Um,
I mean I have sucked. Don't worry, I have sucked. I know what pain is.
oh my gosh, you got I love. There's nothing like comedy in the city. I'll tell you that in New York City.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Very humbling and very rewarding.
Oh
I
yeah, Clyde was telling me last week just how like you'll run your stuff out in 2 weeks and then it's just like
Yeah, you're like,
oh boy.
okay, I don't. I did jokes yesterday. I have to have, and you do like 3 a day, 4 a day, 5 a day, and then same thing next day. And if you skip a day, people are like, where were you? It's like school. It's it's literally like
It's like school.
it's really like getting your master's, except like, and it probably costs just as much, because all these mics are like five. There's one that I've gone to, and I am embarrassed to say that I paid $15, 14. I'm sorry, 14 every time. Uh, and yeah, I did that for a long time. And
You
even when
better
I
get
was
your
on,
money's worth. My God.
yeah, I mean, and I would bomb. I mean, it was at a club, and I was trying to audition. I had an audition set up, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna like show my face. I'm gonna like really try to impress the bookers and stuff. So I actually really like the people there. But man, my friends would be like, "Want to go out to dinner?" And I'm like, "Oh no, that was my dinner."
Yeah, like I'm having sleep again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my free drink ticket that comes with my mic, and yeah, I'm gonna have a Coca-Cola, and that's my dinner. But
Coke for dinner, right?
yeah. I'd say I do mics all over. I'm not really there's a lot of people. I mean, Clyde might have talked about this. There's like a lot of people who just do Brooklyn mics. There's a lot of people that just do Manhattan mics. There's a lot of people that just do Harlem mics. And
Mhm.
I'll just do literally whatever I can get to. And so I do both Brooklyn and Manhattan. I'd say probably I've done more Manhattan, honestly, but I like all of the above. Brooklyn definitely more of like an alt scene, but like it's so good to just make sure your material works out everywhere, and there's really good people hidden everywhere, and
Yeah.
and so that's. But yeah, I'll go like anywhere I'm booked. If someone's like, I have a show. So I did this show that was
If
in
your stuff works,
Queens.
if your stuff works in Brooklyn, then you won't get canceled on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think that like there's like a lot of shame too towards like the woke culture in Brooklyn, and I mean, like I don't think
Uh huh.
it's that terrible. I don't think that sounds bad. I think that there's I think that if your stuff works, it works, and everybody has a shot at being canceled. uh,
Right. Do you subscribe to the notion that you have to change your stuff to depending on what audience you're performing to?
in like separate, I wouldn't say for each borough I change it at all, but definitely for when I get in the room and I see the crowd, I will change it. Yeah.
Ah, okay. You get to
Um,
gauge it. Nice.
yeah. I'm not like I'll do like all my same jokes, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Harlem. I don't care. But if I get to a room and it's like a bunch of like hipster people, I'm just gonna talk
Yeah.
about dating because
But
that's
then you
just
go out on Long Island and you just say build a wall and then you kill.
yeah, which I never would. But yeah, I just read this new joke about how I'm just like, please, everyone, just please vote for Biden, and I'm like, I can't say that in a lot of places. I don't think that's when I probably won't even vote.
Yeah. Definitely not a lot of places. That's funny.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, definitely. I definitely changed my material like for each room. I would say for
Hmm.
I mean, I like you look at the room and comedy is one of those weird things, because it's like it's not like theater where it's like, well, this is my monologue and I have to do it here regardless of whatever. Comedy, it's like
Right.
you get there and you're like, okay, there's 5 people at this bar show that I was booked on. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna be like chill with them. I'm gonna do some crowd work. We're gonna get to know each other. Like it's just gonna be fun, and you can. It's that's what's cool about comedy is it's like, um, you like it's okay if you show up to the venue not 100% sure of your entire set list. Like
Yeah.
I mean, know all your jokes and everything, but like things change every few seconds, and as a comic, it's your responsibility to be aware of those changes and make make decisions according to those changes and stuff.
Right. I mean, the classic saying, "Adapt or die." I remember
Yeah.
whenever I was first getting started, and I was like, "Okay, here's my five. I'm going to remember every single syllable in this
Mhm.
thing." And then, like, I've been doing it a little bit in a couple years, and it's like, "Okay, here's what I plan on hitting. Here's where I got to go." But if something arises in the middle and they're digging something, you just got to ride with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because it's like the most complicated yet the most simple thing ever. Because it's just like, do what's funny, you know? Like, if you
Yeah,
have a joke,
literal clowns, literal court jesters. I get it.
yeah.
So I watched a couple of your sets, and like I said, and off the air, you do such a really good job of you have these little tags in the beginning of your jokes or punchlines here and there, and then you will call back to it at the very end, and I just think that's a skill I'd love to learn to develop, and you do a really good job of that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think like I was telling somebody recently, a joke is nothing but a story with a bunch of tags in it. You
Mm,
know, it's
yeah,
just like it's a tale of some sort. It doesn't even have to be a story. It's just like a thought process that you have sewn punchlines into. And for that, for some of my jokes, I basically just like wrote down the whole story, and then I was like, okay, this is funny. I'm gonna put a joke here, and then this is funny. I'm gonna put a joke here.
So you're playing Mad Libs. So that's how you write.
Basically, yeah. Sometimes for like long form serious jokes, yeah. And then it's just like you think about it over time and over again. You just like add more stuff in. It's crazy because I just like it. You never really know when a joke is done. You can't ever close the book on it because you're going to think of something else. You know, you're going to be telling it and you're going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I ever think of that before? You know? So,
Yeah, I like to flip back through my my accordion folder of all my old jokes and be like, oh, well, I can add something here, I can add something there. Yeah, I totally know what you
yeah.
mean. So there's one joke in particular that really got me, and you were telling a joke about chlamydia, and then you
Oh my
said,
gosh.
you know how it's like not a real STD because you can
Oh
take a
yeah.
pill and you're fine. But you said something really funny after that, and you know, it just got me.
I don't even remember it. Oh man. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you can't take 2 pills and it goes away and you call that an STD. Like you don't take Plan B and say you were pregnant once. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, that got me. I mean, that's so funny. It's so ironic. That's the type of stuff I live for.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, true story. What? Delete that.
Cut. If I had a producer, I'd be like, "Hey, cut it."
Yeah, don't let my dad hear that.
All right. I'll cut
Yeah,
that out. Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Jesus, I'm so bad.
I'm
God,
so
I wish I
bad.
could
I'm
yes
all over the
and.
place. Well, thank you. Yeah. I that was like a riff I had once because some guy. A lot of my jokes come from riffs. I'd say. You know, I love
Do you
that. I
find a
love
lot of inspiration from talking to dudes being idiots?
talking to everybody being idiots.
Okay, fair enough.
I know a lot of people personally. Like, oh my gosh, this thing for sure. I hooked up with a black guy one time, and all my white girlfriends were like so serious to tell me that he was really cute. Like they needed me to know that they thought he was cute, and I was just like, guys, just you don't have just. I know you're not racist. You don't have to prove to me by being like it's just I think just everybody
Oh
just being a
man, they
goof.
thought they thought that like, hey, we have to. They set out all of them with their PR teams individually. We're like, hey, if we come out ahead of this and say he's really cute, it's
Yeah,
like, hey, you're good.
yeah. Like they're
Well,
like,
I mean, it's like when celebrities will talk to somebody and be like, oh, have you seen so and so? They're really good, but like they haven't seen so and so.
no, yeah. That sounded like Mulaney almost. They haven't seen so and so.
That was my problem. I was imitating a mixture of Maniscalco and Seinfeld whenever I was first starting out, and I think it's still in my voice somewhere. I was like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Go back over there."
What is your deal?
My Mulaney. I'm horrible at impressions. I'm not an impression guy, but my Mulaney impression consists of I turn the corner, and what do I see? A murderer. He always like adds like the er.
He has this one joke where he says something about somebody. He's like, and a homeless man was there, obviously. And that gets me every time.
Yeah, man.
It's the
Mulaney's
voice.
great.
Yeah,
Mulaney
his
is
voice is
great.
great.
Is that when it, would you? So if you had a Mount Rushmore, if you had to give me four,
Oh,
who would they be? We can place the current Mount Rushmore with yours.
oh my God, Eddie Murphy up there.
Okay.
Oh my God, he's just blown away. Eddie Murphy. Ugh, I love Jim Gaffigan. I just love Jim Gaffigan.
I work mostly clean, so I mean, Jim
Yeah,
Gaffigan isn't even one of my biggest inspirations. It's just
yeah.
kind of ironic.
I think I like him because he like reminds me of my dad.
I think he's quintessential dad humor.
Yeah, you just want to give him a hug. But he
Talks about
also,
food a lot.
yeah,
I love his joke about seafood. He's like, you know, that's bugs, right? That's sea bugs. It's good.
yeah. Oh my gosh, one of my favorites recently, and I think it was his most recent special. He just has a 10-minute thing about horses, which is stupid. It's like all bad. But then at the end, he's like, horsepower. Nothing like girl power. And that's just like, that's so funny to me. I don't know if I would put him on my Mount Rushmore, though. It's like he's my
Okay.
dad, and my Mount Rushmore would be like my husband's. I would say Judah Friedlander. I mean, I don't know. This is really, really hard. Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr so much. I used to
Yeah.
not like Bill Burr. I used to think he was annoying, and then someone said, "Watch it again. You watched it before you were a comedian." And then I watched him, and I was like, "You're right."
That's really good. Yeah, that's funny.
I watched him like when I was on my period. Classic basic bitch, terrible. I watched him through the eyes of an angry bitch, and
Oh,
that's not the
yeah.
right way to watch
Never
Bill Burr.
good.
And
No, he knows exactly where the soft spots are, and he will
yeah,
infiltrate. He will punch him.
and you watch him as a comedian, you're like, this guy is a genius, and he's not afraid of anything, and he is, yeah, he's definitely one of the greats. So far we have Eddie
Oh my
Murphy,
God,
Bill
yeah.
Burr. Yeah, I'll put Judah up there. I love Judah. I think he's like so
Wow.
funny. I think there's nothing like him. And Mike Birbiglia. I don't even want to say he's one of the great. I love him, but this is hard.
He seems like a sweetheart.
Yeah, I guess I really have a tendency to like sweetheart comedian guys.
That's what I'm noticing.
Mulaney.
I mean, and then Bill Burr's the guy doing the demolition job on the
Yeah,
Mount
maybe
Rushmore.
like
He's the guy that sets the dynamite.
maybe like Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman was the first comedian I ever knew about ever, which I think is so awesome because as a girl growing up and like the first comedian comedy never appeared to me as something only men could do because when I thought about comedy I was like, oh, there's that girl with the black hair that's Jewish, and that's what I thought about comedy. I didn't realize like Jay Leno was a comedian. I thought that was like some guy that my parents watched
On the TV. Yeah.
Oh man, what are yours? I'm curious.
Oh man, it changes all the time. I know I have to have Seinfeld on there. I know I have to have I had Chappelle on there, and I know I have to have Dean Martin on there. And who would be the fourth? The fourth is always the interchangeable one. Some days it's like, wow, it's Tina Fey for her writing ability. Some days it's Bill Burr for just his Bill Burr-ness. And it changes. It's really tough to give you just a fourth, and I don't want to have dead air of me constantly trying to think of a fourth name. But let me think. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I guess I'll just go with Burr.
Yeah, I love Burr.
Today?
I didn't think about Tina Fey or like Amy Poehler, man, or like Molly Shannon or
Well, I mean, like it's stuff.
anybody.
I mean, like a lot of those people are like comedic actors, not necessarily comedians,
Yeah.
stand up. But I mean, like just like if you have a script that needs punched up, just give it to Tina, and you'll be good.
Oh my god, yeah, she's amazing.
Maybe because I also like that was so the era of SNL that you think is the funniest is the area that you like grew up in, essentially, not even like in high school, younger than that.
Oh
And
yeah,
she
I
was head
know.
writer during that. She was head writer during that time, so obviously I'm gonna think everything she does is funny.
Yeah, I think I grew up basically like Bill Hader, Jason
Yeah,
Sudeikis.
likewise. We're like
We're the same
similar.
age.
Yeah.
But my favorites I think are definitely like Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, because they're just like there's this one great one. Oh my gosh, my favorite one of all time is Tina Fey and Amy Poehler being George Bush's daughters.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Yeah, and they're like, let's talk in our secret twin voice, and then they're like, do but you but think but dad but is but a good but president, and it's just oh my god, it's just like so well written and so well performed. And
Yeah. I
Amy
mean
Poehler.
that era for me is all about the digital short. It's all about the digital short.
Yeah,
I
and
mean Andy Samberg played way too big of a role in my development as a fan of comedy.
I feel like Andy Samberg was that time's Pete Davidson. You know,
Wow.
he was
I
like
don't know how old he was at the
he was
time.
the hot
but,
bad boy of SNL.
Andy wasn't a bad boy.
Not
Andy was Andy. No way. You're crazy.
Yeah, maybe not like a bad boy, but he was like he was definitely and very toned down. He was basically. I'm saying he was the one I had a crush on then. is what I'm saying.
Yeah. There it is.
And then before that was like Will Forte. You know. And
Will Forte just played a great job of being like a creepy, weird dude. He just did such a good job of that.
Will Forte is so underrated. He is so underrated. He
His
deserves
name
like
is never brought up when people brought about that cast. That's a good point.
no, yeah, he's so underrated, and he is
The
like
sketch that he had with Peyton Manning, where they're trying to get pumped up before the basketball game, and they're playing like music from the '30s, and he's dancing, like weird. That
oh my
sketch
god,
kills me.
I haven't even seen that one. I have to see that one. I have to go back. Yeah, I
That
love
Peyton Manning
him.
episode's really good because he throws the footballs at the kids.
I
Remember that
like that.
sketch?
I've seen that a million times. That kills me. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
and
time
that still
they weren't
kills.
afraid of anything.
That still kills now. Sorry. That still kills now. And it's like everyone says SNL sucks, and then they show clips from the era that you and I grew up on, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well maybe it's just because like that thing was the viral video before viral videos.
Yeah, I agree. I think and that's also that's scripted though, which is different from like somebody falling out of a chair and laughing at it. I think
Right.
I think that I hope SNL never dies. I think that everything goes through like rough patches, and I think obviously right now is a rough patch, and I think I think a lot of like late night shows and stuff are I mean they're doing their best right now too, which is it's actually really cool. Like they're all doing it at home and stuff. Um, but like I mean, politics is just can like the world can be so depressing and so hard to write about, and then but like SNL in the past has definitely done the best job. Oh, you know what else is great? Obviously, Fred Armisen. You know
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that one sketch with him and Zach Efron. He's like, "I am your mother." Do you know what I'm talking about?
I love the sketch. I don't know that one, but I
Yeah, I'll
do
send it
know
to you.
Fred Armisen. Whenever he's Bill Hader has the Italian talk show, and
Oh
Fred
my
Armisen is
god,
playing like his like PA. That kills me every
eating
time.
spaghetti in the background,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that kills me every time.
and they're. I think that they're just.
He's like, "Yo, sir, John Malkovich. He said you talk like this." Yeah, that one kills me.
Yeah, I think that that's just like um doing it to be funny, just like think just like goofy, blah blah blah.
But
Like
I don't think we're seeing that much anymore. I think everything has become so politicized that they're
I
not really
agree.
doing
Yeah,
necessarily original characters, and it's more so how do we make fun of the news? They're essentially delivering the news to us.
yeah, and that's I mean I remember doing some research a while ago, and like in a poll in like even 2006, the way most people got their news was from Jon Stewart, and like
Ah,
that's common. That's kind of how it's been. I think in the 2000s, I'm pretty sure, because it's like it's the more comforting way to receive bad news is through
uh-huh.
humor, and I think that
Every night I watch Lester Holt at 6:30. I watch Lester Holt, and he delivers the news. And at 7 o'clock, I'm like, wow, I am bummed out.
yeah, I like open up Twitter, and if I like, I went off Twitter because like so many people are saying like so many horrible things about like comedy and stuff, and I was just like, I went off Twitter for a week, and my mental health
Yeah, I
like
have to. I have to
got
go.
so much
I'm
better.
trying to cut my usage down in half. I'm trying to cut my usage down in half.
Yeah, it's just a real punch in the
So I'm
face to read
currently
all
wish
that
me luck.
gross
Yeah.
news sometimes. But yeah, no, I think that yeah, I do wish you luck because it is hard. It's a reflex, to open your phone and go to Twitter or whatever. But
Yes.
I do think I think that some like people making content think it's unavoidable to talk about politics because it's just so outlandish and crazy, and like things we never expected to happen would be are happening. But at the same time, like there's still like goofy stuff to be said. Like don't like also I want to see more of like Fred Armisen yelling at Zac Efron because I think that that's
Exactly.
yeah.
Can we get Stefan back? I mean, like those were
Oh my
hilarious.
god, yeah. Well, I mean that's just like that's so funny because it's like some of these characters are doing the same thing every time, but it's just like you love them. Like I love Stefan. I just want him to be my ringtone. He's amazing.
I just like how everything he's like babies with knives, applesauce containers, Dan Cortez. Everything ends in Dan Cortez. That kills me.
And his laugh behind his hands. Did he?
Oh, behind the hands. I think it's because I mean they were obviously putting jokes he had never read on the cue cards,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the best part. He's just like, and then.
Yeah, and he's hiding behind his fingers. That's definitely the best part. And like obviously no one likes to break in the middle of a
Mhm.
scene and crack up and stuff like that, but it does make for the best stuff.
It's just like a good memory almost. It's like, aw, I love that. I feel like you feel related to them, you know.
Like when Will Ferrell kept touching Jimmy Fallon's feet in the hot tub
Oh my
sketch.
gosh, yeah,
But Jimmy would also crack up at any scene, so never mind.
yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to close with? We're almost done, about an hour.
um, uh, I don't really have anything besides, to promote my Instagram and my Twitter are at Claire Bear Pears. Um, yeah, come see me do nothing because nothing's going on right now. But yeah, no, that's it. Thanks so much for having me on.
Claire, this is great. I would consider us friends now. This has been a great episode. I love talking to you. I wish you the best. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at francosworld_. Don't follow me on TikTok. I'm about to delete it because the Chinese are spying on me. And I want you all to stay safe and have a great day. I will see you when I see you and all that jazz. All right, bye.